For the first 70 years of the last century, the region that is now Rancho Cucamonga was primarily used for agriculture. The communities of Alta Loma, Etiwanda, and Cucamonga were home to acres and acres of vineyards that supported the numerous area wineries, as well as citrus and nut orchards, and even local canning and bottling operations.
The city had basically the major rail line, which was the Pacific Electric Rail, that went up to Alta Loma and Etiwanda so that there could have packing houses there along the rail to get out produce to other locations.
But by the 1970s, families from LA and Orange County started moving to the area seeking affordable housing. By 1975, there were concerns about how the region was growing and how it would develop in the future. So area leaders formed the Tri-Community Incorporation Committee to push for cityhood. And in late 1977, voters approved incorporation and the city of Rancho Cucamonga was created with an initial population of about 44,000. And it was that first city council that really set the stage for future development in Rancho Cucamonga.
In the early 80s, the city actually created their first general plan, and at that time, it was the city with a plan. They really wanted to look at the opportunities throughout the community and plan for the best possible development. So at that time, they started looking at where the major commercial development should be, where existing residential uses were, and how to identify the best locations to keep compatibility between those different types of uses.
That plan set out clear guidelines for how the city would be developed for a multitude of uses.
It was identified in the north end that there should be mostly residential in the north end with some small neighborhood commercial centers, and that along Foothill Boulevard would be the major commercial, which was also Route 66. Later then, they looked at creating an office corridor along Haven Avenue and then industrial in the southern portion of the city.
With that plan from the first city council and the guidance and expertise of city staff, Rancho Cucamonga began developing large-scale housing in the mid-1980s.
For instance, Terra Vista Planned Community was developed, which had a multitude of different types of housing opportunities, including multifamily, single-family, as well as a very large commercial complex.
With the housing boom in the 1980s, Rancho Cucamonga's population exploded to more than 100,000 residents by 1990. So the 1990s brought a plethora of new projects to Rancho, including a new civic center, the Epicenter baseball stadium where the Quakes play, as well as the Empire Lakes golf course, a new library, and a new animal center. It was also at this time that the city set aside areas for industrial use, mostly south of Arrow Highway. By the early 2000s, the city's general plan was updated once again for creation of the 103-acre Central Park, development of the popular Pacific Electric Trail, and the massive 1.3 million square foot Victoria Gardens Mall. Today, Rancho Cucamonga covers more than 40 square miles and is home to more than 170,000 residents. And while development continues, there is a slightly different approach.
We still have some developable land, but not as much as we used to. So the city has changed in terms of how we're going to develop the rest of the community. We're looking at development that's more compatible with existing development in that area.
Rancho Cucamonga has certainly come a long ways in its first 35 years or so, but it is the city with a plan, and that careful planning early on can be credited for the successes of today.
I think early on identifying the plan for the city was very important because it really created the community identity that we have today. And one of those was to have great education opportunities, good community facilities, great services, and that's what we've done through the build out of the city and through the general plan. That's why people do move to the city, because of those services and the education opportunities that we have here in Rancho.
In Rancho Cucamonga, I'm David Wiley for RC Spotlight.